Okay. Throwing demo 101, how to throw a cylinder. Safe, reliable technique for how to get pretty consistent results of a halfway decent pot. First off, you're going to attach your wheel to the clay head. You'll notice it's asymmetrical. This is solved by using centrifugal force. It's the same stuff that causes your arms to want to fly out when you're spinning in a circle. Biggest trick, he'll remind you of this many, many times. You're going to want to brace your elbow against the inside of your leg for stability. You're way stronger and tougher if you have something backing your arm than if you're just trying to He-Man force the clay. Press into the clay. You'll have this hand on the top. You'll notice already it's coming on the center. If you feel any air bubbles in your clay, you can bring the clay up and back down. And if there are air bubbles, that will likely remove many of them. And if not, you can always use your needle tool to pop the air bubbles. We're going to compress it down into the approximate shape of a donut or bagel, depending on your culinary preferences. Once we have this shape, we need to open the clay so that we can pull our floor and then begin pulling the walls of our pot. For this, I personally prefer to use these two fingers. Some people use their thumbs. I have better luck with this. Put my hands together. I'm going to be pressing straight down into the clay. And I generally shoot for stopping about 1/4 of an inch before I get to the head of the wheel. Head of the wheel being this bat right here. If you're unsure, you can always check the thickness at the bottom of your pot with a needle tool. Press in, see how much space is left. Now, to open our pot, same principle applies. These two fingers, we're going to spin the wheel and pull straight out. Sometimes you get a ring that wants to pop up like this. One of the best ways to just get rid of that, you press down with the side of your right hand, or if you have the wheel going in the opposite direction because you're left-handed, left-handed. Although most left-handed people end up throwing right-handed. Anyways, every once in a while, take your sponge, soak up some of the moisture in the inside of your pot. Helps it not get soggy and maintain its form. Now, once we've got our clay on center, we've got our floor, we need to compress the floor. Personally, I'll use my thumb. This, for the first quick round of that. Once I have that done, I will take my wooden rib tool and go over it once again to give a little more structure and rigidity to the base of my pot. At this point, we are ready to start pulling the walls of our pot. Now, the biggest trick with this is not just to move your hands up and down in the pot. A lot of people do this. You gain no height whatsoever. You want to actually gather the clay. You're going to be pressing together and moving upwards and slightly in. You're going slightly in because of that same centrifugal force is going to want to bow your pot out. So you got to counteract that by compensating to the inside with your throwing technique. So, all goes well. This pot will get taller as I do this. I'm going to gather my clay together. Press up. The clay will rise. Shoot for more of a volcano shape, like I said, because it's always easier to make a pot go out than in. to another pole, you'll notice that I get these little throwing rings. My high school teacher always called them stadium steps because you shoot for the symmetry you have the staircase. When you get to the top of the pole, you want to let off nice and gentle so that you don't have a thin spot where you let off all of a sudden on your pot. If you want your pot to go in a little while it's still in the cylinder shape, you can collar it a little bit. You can get away with it. There's a limit to how much this will work and some. Now you might be noticing that this pot's a little wonky. One of the ways to fix that is I'm going to go ahead and do one more pull. And I'm going to try to get all of those asymmetries moved up to the top of the pot. All that wonkiness is up at the rim. I'm going to take my needle tool. Patiently insert it into the clay. Remove clay. Temporary ceramic bracelet. After you do this, you're going to want to compress the rim so that you have a nice symmetrical pot. At which point you can resume your pulling. Sometimes it's helpful to stand. Even if you're standing, you can still brace your elbow on the inside of your knee if you want. It allows you to stack your joints in good form.
Seven minutes.
Perfect. Okay, stuff like this can happen. Always reestablish symmetry a little bit there. If you have, let's see if I can do this. If you really knock your pot off, do something like that. You take your rib and on the inside, smooth it. And if the top's off center, cut the rim off again. Gather up the clay at the base. You're not going to keep a pot, it's always good practice to just go ahead and see how tall you can throw. Okay, once you have your cylinder, you're going to do what's called an undercut. All you're doing here is you're removing the little bit of extra clay you've got at the bottom. Take it off like that, wooden knife. You can do an additional undercut like this. This will make your glazing and trimming easier later on. Trimming is when you flip your pot upside down on the wheel. Take a tool that I don't have here right now, and you cut the extra clay off while it spins. One final quick note on this: when you shape the pot, generally you have the foot, you're going to have the belly of the pot in here, you're going to have the neck and the lip. I'll quickly exaggerate that just so you have a bit of a sense of it. Here we'll bow out. Big old fat belly for the pot. Neck. I'll go ahead and flare the lip out just so you see what I'm talking about. And that is the very short version of how to throw a pot. If you follow these steps, it's going to be a lot easier. Your learning process is going to go quicker. The final thing to do is you will take your wire tool, do this guy right here. You're going to cut underneath your pot at which point you can either lift it off the wheel, you can just remove that, or if you want to check your own skills, you can cut your pot in half, pull it apart, and see whether or not you've managed to make symmetrical thin walls. Okay. And good luck with learning pottery.